The ladder of states, from shutdown to steady. The kindest place to begin. This is a state, not a self. Most people do not need another reason to judge themselves. They already have a whole courtroom inside, complete with a prosecutor, a stack of old evidence, and a voice that can turn a single difficult moment into a verdict about their worth. One of the quiet cruelties of modern life is how easily we interpret our nervous system as our identity. If we feel anxious, we decide we are anxious. If we feel numb, we decide we are broken. If we feel irritable, we decide we are mean. If we feel scattered, we decide we are undisciplined. We take a temporary state and promote it into a permanent story. This chapter is here to undo that mistake, gently but thoroughly. The goal is not to label yourself. The goal is to recognize what state you are in, so you can respond with intelligence instead of shame. When you learn the ladder of states, you stop treating yourself like a mystery you have to solve through self-criticism. You begin treating yourself like a living system that can be understood and supported. This is where the calm advantage becomes practical. In the first chapters, we named calm as a capacity and stress as a storm that changes cognition. Now we take the next step. We learn to recognize the operating mode of the nervous system in real time. Because here is the truth that most people never learned in a straightforward way. Your nervous system has different modes, and each mode changes what the world looks like to you, what other people feel like to you, and what choices seem available. If you do not recognize the mode, you will assume your thoughts are objective. You will assume your reaction is truth. You will assume your impulse is wisdom. But often it is simply a state speaking. Stephen Porges, whose work on polyvagal theory has helped many people understand the body's threat and safety responses, describes the nervous system as organized in a kind of hierarchy. In plain language, this means your body tends to move through a predictable set of survival programs depending on whether it senses safety or danger. You do not have to memorize technical terms to benefit from the insight. The essential idea is simple. When you feel safe enough, you can connect. When you feel threatened, you mobilize into action. When a threat feels overwhelming or inescapable, the system can shut down to conserve resources. In everyday language, we can call these three broad zones connection, mobilization, and shutdown. Connection is the state where life feels manageable and you can be present, curious, and social. Mobilization is the state where you are activated, ready to fight or flee. Shutdown is the state where you collapse, numb out, or disappear inside yourself. The ladder metaphor matters because it keeps the tone kind. A ladder is not a moral ranking. It is a tool for orientation. If you are on a ladder rung, you are not bad. You are simply in a different place than you were a moment ago. And because state can change, shame becomes less useful. The question shifts from, what is wrong with me, to, where am I on the ladder right now, and what would help me move towards steadiness? This also prevents a common trap, trying to argue your way out of a state. When you are mobilized, your mind tends to interpret everything through urgency. When you are shut down, your mind tends to interpret everything through hopelessness. If you try to think positive from those states, you will feel like you are lying to yourself. The ladder gives you a better option. Name the state first, then choose a response that matches what the nervous system can actually absorb. It is also important to say this clearly. You are not diagnosing yourself. You are not turning your emotions into pathology. You are simply developing literacy. Just as you learn to read hunger, fatigue, and thirst, you can learn to read activation and shutdown. This is not medical. It is human. A spiritual undertone runs through this as well. Many contemplative traditions teach a form of inner witnessing, the ability to observe experience without becoming fused with it. The ladder is a practical form of that wisdom. When you learn to say, "This is mobilization," or "This is shutdown," you create a small space between you and the experience. In that space, you regain choice. You remember that you are more than what you feel. The three states in plain language: connection, mobilization, shutdown. Let's begin with the state most people want to live in, the one that supports learning, love, and wise decision-making. We can call it connection. In polyvagal language, this is often associated with what is called the ventral vagal state, but you do not need that phrase. What matters is what it feels like. In connection, your body is not braced. Your breathing is fuller. Your face is more expressive. Your voice has tone and warmth. Your mind can hold nuance. You can think about the future without panic. You can be with other people without constantly protecting yourself. You can solve problems without turning them into emergencies. Connection does not mean you feel wonderful all the time. It means your system is organized enough to handle what is in front of you. You might be sad and still be connected. You might be disappointed and still be connected. You might be tired and still be connected. The key is that you are present. You are here. You can respond. In connection, your inner world tends to have a sense of options. You can imagine multiple possibilities. You can hear feedback without collapse. You can set boundaries without a rush of fear. You can disagree without turning it into war. You can breathe and remember what matters. This is the state in which calm becomes available, not as a forced performance, but as a natural steadiness. Now move one rung down the ladder to mobilization. Mobilization is your system of action. It is what most people call fight or flight. This is not a bad state. It is a useful state when there is a real demand. Mobilization is what helps you slam on the brakes when a car cuts you off, lift something heavy, speak up when a boundary is crossed, or push through a difficult task. Mobilization is energy. The issue is not mobilization itself. The issue is when mobilization becomes chronic, or when it is triggered by situations that are not actually emergencies. When the system stays mobilized too long, life begins to feel like a series of threats. The mind becomes vigilant, the body becomes tense, sleep becomes shallow, appetite shifts, patience shrinks, humor dries up. The world begins to feel sharp. In mobilization, the mind often shifts into an us versus them style of thinking. It becomes harder to listen. It becomes harder to interpret ambiguity generously. It becomes harder to tolerate waiting. Mobilization accelerates certainty. It makes you feel like you must act now, solve now, defend now, escape now. It also makes it harder to access the deeper self that remembers long-term consequences. This is why Chapter 2 matters so much. Stress compresses perception and rewards short-term relief. Mobilization is the state where that process is in full swing. It is not that you lose your intelligence. It is that your system is optimized for survival, not strategy. One rung below mobilization is shutdown. Shutdown is the state of immobilization. In polyvagal language, this is often associated with the dorsal vagal response. Again, you do not need the technical term. What matters is what it feels like. Shutdown can feel like numbness, heaviness, fog, or emptiness. It can feel like you are watching your life from behind a pane of glass. It can feel like exhaustion that does not improve with rest. It can feel like I don't care, even when you do care, somewhere beneath the surface. Shutdown is one of the most misunderstood states, and because it is misunderstood, people are often cruel to themselves when they are in it. They call themselves lazy. They call themselves broken. They call themselves weak. But shutdown is often a protective strategy. It is the nervous system's way of conserving resources when a situation feels too overwhelming, too prolonged, or too inescapable. If fight or flight does not work, the system may decide to go still. Not because it wants to ruin your life, but because it is trying to help you survive. This is an ancient survival response. In nature, when escape is impossible, going still can reduce pain, reduce detection, and reduce energy use. In modern life, shutdown might show up when a person has been under chronic stress for too long. The system cannot keep mobilizing. It drops. It goes quiet. It pulls inward. The spiritual undertone here is especially important. In many traditions, there is reverence for the part of us that withdraws, not as a permanent home, but as a signal. Withdrawal can be the soul's way of saying, "This is too much." It can be the body's way of saying, "We need a different pace." The mistake is to interpret shutdown as a failure of character. A more truthful interpretation is to see it as a call for support, recovery, and safety. So we have three broad states: connection, present and capable; mobilization, energized and urgent; shutdown, withdrawn and conserving. You will move through these states in a normal life. The goal is not to stay in connection all the time. The goal is to recognize movement quickly so you can keep yourself from getting stuck. And to do that, you need indicators. How to know where you are. Practical signs without self-judgment. A nervous system state is not only an emotion, it is a whole body pattern. You can often tell what state you are in by paying attention to three categories: your body, your mind, and your behavior. These are not diagnostic checklists. They are simple signs. In connection, your body tends to feel relatively settled. Breathing is fuller. The jaw is less clenched. Shoulders are less braced. The face is more expressive. The voice has warmth. The eyes can focus and soften. You might still feel stress, but it does not dominate your whole system. You can feel your feet. You can feel the room. Your body is not shouting. In mobilization, the body becomes more charged. You might notice tightness in the chest, a rush of heat, a restless energy in the limbs, a clenched jaw, a furrowed brow. Breathing often becomes faster and shallower. The body is ready to do something. You may feel like you cannot sit still, or you might feel like you are holding yourself rigid, trying to maintain control. Digestion can become unsettled. Sleep can become lighter. The body is spending resources on readiness. In shutdown, the body feels heavy or distant. Breathing can become very shallow or very slow. Muscles may feel weak. The face may become less expressive. The eyes may feel unfocused. The voice may flatten. You might feel cold, or you might feel nothing at all. You might notice that you are going through motions without a sense of presence. Motivation drops. The body is conserving. Now look at the mind. In connection, the mind can hold complexity. You can consider multiple perspectives. You can tolerate not knowing. You can plan without panic. You can be present enough to notice your own reactions and still choose what to do with them. You can feel emotion without becoming it. In mobilization, the mind speeds up. Thoughts race. The mind becomes more certain. It tells stories of threat. It interprets events in extreme terms. It may become suspicious. It may become judgmental. It may become controlling. It may become fixated on what must be solved immediately. Even if the situation is not truly urgent, the mind treats it as if it is. In shutdown, the mind slows down, but not in a peaceful way. It can become foggy. It can become blank. It can become hopeless. It can become resigned. Thoughts may be hard to access, or thoughts may become repetitive in a dull loop, like, what's the point? In shutdown, the mind often loses imagination. The future feels closed. The self feels small. Now look at behavior. In connection, behavior tends to be flexible. You can start tasks and complete them. You can communicate clearly. You can take breaks without guilt. You can be with people without either clinging or withdrawing. You can say no when needed. You can ask for help. You can repair after conflict. In mobilization, behavior tends to be reactive. You may interrupt. You may argue. You may push. You may overwork. You may try to control. You may avoid rest because rest feels unsafe. You may reach for quick relief. You may scroll, snack, spend, or lash out. Mobilization wants discharge. In shutdown, behavior tends to be avoidant or inert. You may withdraw from people. You may delay decisions. You may not answer messages. You may sleep too much or sleep poorly. You may dissociate, meaning you feel mentally gone, even while physically present. You may abandon routines that normally help you. Shutdown wants protection through stillness. Notice something important in all of this. None of these signs are moral. They are signals. They are your system communicating its current strategy. When you learn to read signals, you can respond with intelligence. This is where the ladder becomes practical. You can begin to ask several times a day a simple question. Where am I right now? Not as a test, as a check-in. If you are in connection, you can use that state well. You can make important decisions there. You can have hard conversations there. You can work creatively there. You can plan. You can repair. Connection is the state in which your best self is most available. If you are in mobilization, you can slow down before acting. You can treat urgency with suspicion. You can apply the 2-second choice we discussed earlier, because that micro pause is often enough to keep mobilization from becoming damage. You can also discharge energy in clean ways, such as movement, breath, or stepping away from the trigger long enough to return with steadiness. If you are in shutdown, you can stop demanding high performance. You can stop trying to force yourself into productivity as proof of worth. Shutdown needs gentleness. It often needs warmth, rhythm, and small steps. It often needs connection, but not in a demanding way. Sometimes it needs a safe person. Sometimes it needs nature. Sometimes it needs nourishment. Sometimes it needs sleep. Sometimes it needs a simple task that reminds you you are still alive and capable. The ladder does not shame you for being where you are. It helps you choose what supports you. Moving up the ladder, what helps without forcing. A common misunderstanding is that the goal is to jump from shutdown to joy, or from mobilization to bliss. The nervous system rarely works that way. It tends to shift in steps. The ladder metaphor is useful because it suggests gradual movement. If you are in mobilization, you do not have to become peaceful immediately. You might simply need to come down into steadiness. You might need to slow your breathing, feel your feet, and widen your vision. You might need to take a short walk, stretch your shoulders, or drink water slowly. You might need to step out of the conversation and return later. You might need to remind yourself, gently, that urgency is not always truth. If you are in shutdown, you do not have to force yourself into high-energy action. You might need to move from shutdown to a calmer form of mobilization first, meaning you awaken a little energy. You might stand up and feel your legs. You might open a window. You might turn on a light. You might take a warm shower. You might do one small task. The goal is not productivity. The goal is re-entry. Stephen Porges emphasizes, in his broader framework, that connection and safety are powerful regulators. In plain language, being with a safe person can change your state. A warm tone of voice can change your state. A non-judgmental presence can change your state. This is why co-regulation matters so much in relationships. We do not regulate alone as often as we think. We borrow steadiness from each other. We borrow safety. We borrow rhythm. This is also where spiritual practice becomes practical. A spiritual practice is often a way of creating cues of safety. It can be prayer, not as magical bargaining, but as a steadying orientation. It can be meditation, not as escaping feelings, but as learning to sit with them without being swept away. It can be chanting or music, because rhythm regulates the body. It can be reading a sacred text or a poem that reminds you of a larger horizon. The point is not the form, the point is the effect, returning the nervous system towards steadiness. In Christian language, you might say you are returning to trust. In Buddhist language, you might say you are returning to presence. In secular language, you might say you are returning to the here and now. These are different doorways into the same room. When people feel stuck, it is often because they are trying to use the wrong tool for the state they are in. They try to reason with mobilization, which wants action. They try to motivate shutdown, which wants safety. They try to shame themselves into connection, which requires gentleness. The ladder helps you match the response to the reality. This also helps you relate to others with more compassion. When someone is in mobilization, they may seem aggressive, controlling, or unreasonable. When someone is in shutdown, they may seem distant, lazy, or uncaring. If you interpret those behaviors as character, you will respond with blame. If you interpret them as state, you can respond with steadiness. That does not mean you tolerate harm. It means you choose responses that are more likely to de-escalate rather than ignite. A regulated person becomes a stabilizing presence, not because they are always calm, but because they know what state is present and what it needs. This is the deeper promise of the ladder. It is not only self-awareness, it is self-leadership. It is the ability to guide your system through life's inevitable stressors without turning every stressor into a personal failure. The calm advantage is built here in this simple skill, learning to recognize what state is speaking. A quiet commitment, awareness over self-diagnosis. If you take only one thing from this chapter, let it be this. You are allowed to be where you are without making it mean something terrible about you. You can be activated without being defective. You can be numb without being broken. You can be irritable without being cruel. These are states. They are signals. They are not your identity. When you start living this way, you stop wasting energy on shame and start using energy for regulation. You start asking better questions. What is my body doing? What am I protecting? What do I need right now to move one rung towards steadiness? You stop demanding that you be different. You start learning how to support what is real. And this matters because the calm advantage is not built in grand moments. It is built in small recognitions. It is built when you notice you are mobilized and you choose to pause. It is built when you notice you are shutting down and you choose a small act of warmth and re-entry. It is built when you notice you are connected and you choose to make a wise decision while your capacity is available. Over time, these small recognitions become a new pattern, and the new pattern becomes a new life.